Hello and welcome to the March 6th meeting of TV Toastmasters. My name is Rick Barron and I'm the Vice President of Public Relations. Welcome. We've got a great show today. 3 prepared speeches today. Sorry, we dropped one. Somebody didn't make it today. We've got a limited number of participants, but we're going to make this happen anyway. We're going to show you how creative we can be at TV Toastmasters in producing a full show with the least amount of people. If you're interested in growing with us, you can visit us at 7850 5 Mile Road at the Anderson Center. We meet the first Thursday of the month at 6 p.m. and the third Saturday of the month at 9 a.m. You can learn more about us at www.tvtoastmasters.com. I would like to now transition the meeting leadership to our Toastmaster, Carol Kormelink. Carol?
Thank you, Presiding Officer Rick Barron. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and our most welcome guest and our viewing audience at home. I would like to welcome Ram Kapoor, and we will hear from him a little bit later. He's even taking a role today to help us out since we're limited. We have like 12 roles and 3-4 people to do them. So we're wearing many hats today. We have an impromptu part of the session where we have table topics. When your boss asks you that question, instead of freezing and having brain freeze, you don't know what to say, you learn to listen intently, think quickly, and answer responsively. That will be our first order of the business today. We then have we have 3 speakers, which is great that we have 3 prepared speeches tonight. And then we will have the general evaluation. I will wear another hat and will be general evaluator. And we will have 3 different evaluators. And then we will have the timing report with our visitor here. I'd like to get started with our table topics. I like my table topics to be timely. This is March. I have a lot of things happening in March. In fact, on the way over here, I was thinking, I have 4 birthdays, my son, 2 grandsons, and my great-grandson. And on the way over here, I was thinking, my son is going to be 57, and he was born in 1957. That's kind of interesting. I'm celebrating the 3 birthdays in March. There's a lot of other things that are happening, the Fat Tuesday and the Ash Wednesday. My question today, which I will ask somebody else, since you did. My question today is, what is an event that is meaningful for you in March? Rick Barron? Let's welcome Rick Barron.
Thank you, Carol. March has come to mean one thing for me: spring break. When I was in college, I never celebrated spring break. I used it as an opportunity to catch up on all the work that I wasn't able to do during that spring semester. But now that I'm working and have a few means to be able to do as I want, I go to Florida and I spend the time in the sun with my granddaughters. Last year we went to Panama City. They had the coldest spring break on record. We ended up freezing because it was so cold. This year we're going to avoid the beach and we're going to go inland to Orlando. I fly to Jacksonville to pick them up, drive to Orlando, spend the week in a nice, luxurious resort, hopefully in the Florida sun, before I come back to Cincinnati and freeze again. Carol?
Thank you, Rick. I can relate to that as I came back in that freezing rain from Orlando on Sunday. That's sleet and that, and it was 80 down there. I left to come back here to 0 degrees. My second table topics is the same question, which I will ask Ram on what does spring mean to him when he got here.
Thank you.
And we always shake hands.
Yeah. Hello everybody, nice to be here first time today. And for me, March means a lot of heat. That's what I have been growing with. In India, we have primarily two seasons, rainy season and summer season. And there is something called as winter, which is, I say, the summer with less heat. So March is a time when we have final exams, and since British ruled us, they also brought summer vacation with them. So our vacation is in a lot of heat. Okay, so during the summer vacation, during the summertime, we are all the school students, kids, they are worried about giving exams, studying in hot sun, no air conditioners. So I don't like March. But I love the march over here in Cincinnati. It's very pleasant and cool. I would always be surprised with the so much of hate people express when they see the snow. I love it. I cannot comprehend because when I was growing up, I never saw snow. I saw the snow for the first time when I went to Kashmir, which is the northern part of India, and I specifically went there just to see snow. And it is so beautiful. When I first time came in America in 2009, I would take out my car just to drive in snow. And I would love the beautiful sceneries everywhere, white like clouds. So it was like a heavenly experience for me. I don't know how many people see it that way over here, but still today I'm mesmerized when I see snow. So I'm glad there is snow at this time.
Then stay here a minute. Stay here. Wait, Rom. You always return control of the lectern to the next person. Thank you. I am not one of those who like snow. I know there's a lot of people that do. I like the roads cleared. I don't mind having the white snow landscape, but I don't want to have all that snow on the road. We now come to the prepared speech section of our meeting, and our first speaker today will be Rick Barron, and he will be giving speech number 3 from the Competent Communication Manual on Get to the Point. Rick is rehearsing his winning speech from the club. He won at the club level, he won at the area level, and now he's preparing for the 3rd level of competition at the division. The audience is doubled at each level, where there might only be 5, 6, 10 people at the club level. It's doubled that there's 30 people at the area level, and then there'll probably be 50, 60, 70 people at the division level. So he's making sure that his message is contagious. The audience gets his message. They catch it. Let us welcome Rick Barron, Brilliant Insanity. Rick Barron.
Sweat was rolling down my back while waiting to jump into the cold green water of Lake Huron. If successful, this scuba dive will break my current depth record. While staring at the horizon to avoid getting seasick, my mind jumped backward in time like an old phonograph playing a warped record. I was back in college, playing hooky from the classes I loved so dearly. As my last fraternity brother stepped into the cramped single-engine plane, I exclaimed, "Whose brilliant idea was this to jump from a perfectly good airplane?" Fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, and anyone else who's found themselves questioning their sanity. Reluctantly, I slowly turned the handle on the plane's door, like a teenager trying to sneak out of the house. First one foot, then the other, on what appeared to be a coffin-shaped step. As the wind whipped through my hair, I realized jumping last was a big mistake. I watched my fraternity brothers take the plunge from 2,500 feet, but was unable to tell if they were mopping them up from the landing zone. I took a deep breath, closed my eyes, and released my death grip on the wing because the pilot wouldn't let me back into the plane. I flew backwards at 250 miles an hour, accelerating towards certain death. I was jerked violently upward as the ripcord deployed my chute. Thank God. It took 2 weeks for my sprained ankle to heal from the botched landing. But I wore that bandage like a commando wears a Purple Heart, giving me new confidence to pass some really difficult engineering courses. A few decades later, I once again had reason to question my sanity. I was at work analyzing the merits of accepting a separation package that would end my career as a highly paid, overworked IT professional. As the mouse pointer hovered over the accept button, I could hear my father's voice. Study hard, get good grades, land a job with a big company. You'll be set for life. While everyone else was trying to avoid selection, I actively sought this insanity. The luster of working for a Fortune 500 company had worn off years ago. I jumped between promises of multi-level wealth, but could never build a team capable of generating anything more than a bar tab. Whose brilliant idea was this to quit the only job I've ever had? What happens when the severance money runs out? Are my skills transferable to another company? Clicking this button was starting to feel like a huge mistake. But I drew strength from the end of my father's story. Contrary to his advice, he traded his secure naval career for a risky commission sales job, allowing him to earn over $1 million in a single year. Click. I couldn't go to work every day wondering if I'd passed up the opportunity of my lifetime. My business partner quit. The severance money ran out. The job prospects for an unemployed, overpaid IT professional weren't what they used to be. So I accepted a consulting position for the company I got paid to leave. I make more money, work fewer hours, and don't have to deal with the employee politics. Insanity restructured. Back on the dive boat, the sweat was pooling in my lower back as I broke my gaze on the distant horizon. Seasickness had moved from a thought to a real possibility as I waddled gingerly towards the back of the boat. I could ask the captain to signal my friends to proceed without me, or I could take this plunge with confidence. I took a deep breath, checked my gear, joined my friends, setting my new scuba diving depth record, 152 feet, deeper than the height of a 15-story building, giving new perspective to everyday problems. While climbing back into the boat, I was reminded of a quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson. "What lies behind you and what lies before you are tiny matters compared to what lies within you. What insanely brilliant idea resides within you, waiting to be explored? They're there for a reason. Go ahead. What's the best that can happen? Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Rick. We will return in 1 minute.
Name an effective political leader in history who couldn't speak well.
I would take pride in the word
There aren't any.
Because when it comes to a disease,
Freedom
like this,
requires leadership,
there are
and
no
leadership requires
parties.
oratory. You have to speak to be heard.
I have a dream.
It's all about personal growth and guts.
Never give in. Never, never, never.
Our next speaker today, one of the things when you're speaking is to have an intriguing title to catch the audience's attention. Steve Ahrenholz is speaking from the Competent Communicator Manual Project 2, which is Organize Your Speech. His title is Are You the Right Type? And now when I see his t-shirt, I think I might have a clue to what type he's talking about. Let us welcome Rick Barron, Steve Ahrenholz, Distinguished Toastmaster.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters and our honored guest in with the studio with us tonight. Last week, I received my 15-gallon donor pin from Hawksworth. I always wondered what they would look like when they had to do double digits. And so now I've found out. You can't really see it. I have it on my shirt here, but they have figured out how to get double digits into that drop of blood that forms their pin. Consider this. The average male has between 4.7 and 5 liters of blood. That's about 10 pints. I've actually donated more whole blood and platelets than I would have at any one time. Did you know that Hawksworth Blood Center here needs 350 whole blood donors a day and 40 platelet donors to be able to serve the needs of patients in the 17 counties and 31 hospitals that are served by Hawksworth? What I want to share with you today is why I donate and how I decided to become a platelet donor. You could say that I was a very casual donor for quite a few years. I might donate maybe 2 to 3 times a year. And usually it was in association with the blood drive that they had where I was working. You know, a little peer pressure always helps. I favored donating whole blood over platelets, partly because at the time the technology wasn't quite as advanced as it is now. So you actually had to do your platelet donation with a needle in each arm. So you couldn't even scratch your nose if it itched. One of the phlebotomists would have to help you out with that. Well, it was about this time in 2007 that I started to change my mind. My mom had been hospitalized for tests to determine what the cause was of swollen glands that she was experiencing and didn't seem to be responding to any of the treatments that her doctor was prescribing for her. She went into the hospital for some routine tests. She ended up staying there for over 2 weeks. The doctors were having trouble figuring out just what the problem was. My sister called me one evening and she said, "Mom's been diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. They need to get her
blood profile up to where they can start treating it with chemotherapy, you might want to come home. My 8-hour drive from Cincinnati to Milwaukee gave me a lot of time to think about this situation that seemed to drop on us from out of nowhere. Mom had always been one of those who was helping everyone else. I remember as kids, she was always there to take care of us when we were sick. And throughout her lifetime, she was giving both to her family and others. Her career as a geriatric nurse, the well-being of her patients was always foremost in her concerns. And she was always one that you could count on to help with other things that needed attention. Well, I got up to Milwaukee and I walked into this larger-than-life new hospital. I had no idea what to expect. And I didn't know where Mom was. I found her in a room on the 4th floor, looking more pale than I'd ever seen her look. She told me that she'd need at least 6 units of platelets before they could even tell her whether her blood profile was such that they could start chemotherapy. Oh my. Talk about feeling helpless. What could I do to help the person who always helped us out? Following one of her platelet transfusions, Mom remarked, "I've had a craving for a steak dinner today. I wonder if the platelet donor liked steak, because I generally don't care that much for steak for dinner." I thought about how much this meant for someone to donate platelets to my mom, how much it meant to me, how much it meant to her, and that she might have a chance in beating her lymphoma, that I'd never have the chance to thank the person who took the time to go and give a very personal gift of themselves. I had no idea who it was. It's actually quite an altruistic gift because you're giving something that cannot be purchased. And it's very personal because it actually courses through my own blood vessels when I do a donation. And it could even be somebody that, when I do platelets, I might not particularly like. They might not like me, but it's something that they need. And I'm willing to donate it. Well, my mom had numerous platelet transfusions before she could start her therapy. But it didn't really go that well. Mom passed away 3 months later. During those long, short months, I often felt so helpless as to what to do. Along the way, I decided that I can do something. I can honor my mom. So when I get that call from Hawksworth, and they want me to come and donate platelets, I look at my calendar and I say, okay, when is the Satellite Donor Center open? So I've been donating platelets for the last 7 years. My blood type is AB positive. Only 3% of the U.S. population has that blood type. However, regardless of the blood type you have, the most valuable blood type is the one that they don't have when they need it. So yes, you are the right type. Consider becoming a whole blood donor or a platelet donor. And if you can't donate blood or platelets, there are still other things that you can do. Check out Hawksworth website at www.hawksworth.org, because there are other things that you can do to help give people the gift of life. Albert Schweitzer said, "Do something for somebody every day for which you do not get paid." Being a platelet or blood donor is one of those somethings. You are the right type.
Thank you, Steve. Wow. Very thought-provoking. We will return in 1 minute.
I'd like to begin tonight with a little joke. This guy, he's a farmer, and he says, "Hey, hello, sorry." But seriously, folks.
Speaking in public is no joke.
Doctor says, chicken says,
For help, call Toastmasters, the public speaking support group.
the chicken.
Welcome back. Our third speaker this evening, we're privileged to have a former Toastmaster who is the executive director of Claremont Pets Alive, and she happens to be the wife of Rick Barron, our first speaker. Anita is going to talk with us about when your cat is lost. She will give you tips how knowing your cat's personality will help you in finding your kitty. And let us give a hearty welcome to Anita Barron. Here, kitty, here, Poochie, here, kitty, Anita Barron.
Thank you. I think everybody that grew up with pets, when you were a child, you somehow were affiliated with pets. So whether you owned them yourself, with your family, or you knew somebody that had them, somehow you knew somebody or you knew a pet through that. And you hear people say, "We lost our pet." Well, okay, was it of old age, of illness, or did they actually lose the pet and it just disappeared? And so if anybody has ever owned a pet and had that happen where the animal went outside or somehow got outside and all of a sudden, poof, disappeared. What do you do? Where is it? It was right here, and then all of a sudden it's gone. And it's obviously, people that lose children are more horrific by all means, but still it's the same loss. What happened? Do they need me? What can I do to help? I need to do something to protect my animal. And so it's a very frustrating, and it lives with you forever. And in my personal history, that was Delta, a little kitty. And she was indoors with her friend, another kitty, and they went out only when I was here at the house. And so I'd give them access to the outdoor. There was a nice green belt in the back, safe, away from cars and other predators. And all of a sudden, one day, she didn't return. Poof, gone. Was she locked up somewhere? What happened? I went and I called and, just scoured everywhere, never found her. And that's a very empty feeling. I'd much rather have an animal that you have to euthanize and you just know you've got closure, where you don't have that in this case. So whenever people in Claremont Pets Alive, we have a phone number and people call and, have all kinds of, can you take my dog, can you take my pet, or I've lost my animal, or I found an animal. And so what we try to do is give them the best resources possible. And the best resource I've found is lostapet.org. And it's a shortcut to Missing Pet Partnership. This woman that started this, her name is Kat, K-A-T. She started this whenever she used to be a policewoman that was in charge of finding missing people. And so what she did was, whenever she opened this up, she said, okay, same theory, I've lost an animal or something and I'm going to find it. And so what she did was, we're unique, and you won't find this in most websites that are saying, what do you do whenever you lose an animal? She broke it down into species specific, meaning dog, cat, ferret, bird, snake, whatever, and then also behavior specific. So within each species, there's different behaviors of those animals that you can typically, You just know you can figure out. She said, instead, professionally trained searchers for humans don't wander aimlessly in the woods when searching for a missing hiker if somebody's lost in the woods. Instead, an organized search plan is implemented based on the knowledge of the behavioral patterns of lost people, and they do have behavioral patterns. And it's the same theory goes to how she implemented the wisdom of what she created in this website, lostapet.org. For cats, cats are very territorial, so they're not going to just go wander off. They're typically either scared away or somehow they've been displaced from what they know is their territory, whether it be an indoor home or an outdoor environment where they were always outdoors. So she breaks it up into displaced indoor-only cats. Well, those, if you put them outside and they're really skittish because that's all the territory they've ever known was just that one indoor home, they're going to freeze. And they will typically be found within a 5-house radius. And they may not answer you based on their behaviors, their temperaments. So basically, a gregarious cat may be okay with being out in a strange environment, and whenever the owner calls, they might come up to them. But a xenophobic cat, which is almost a catatonic state for them, they're shy in the first place, and then you put them in the strange environment, which is not what they know, they're going to freeze, and they will literally be almost catatonic. Those cats will be either in the bushes, under in garages, behind something, under decks, in a very dark, secure place, and they will literally stay there for days. They're so in fear that their whole body shuts down, their brain shuts down, and they basically just sit there. And the owner will be calling and go, well, you didn't hear, he's not coming to me. The only way you're going to catch one of those is if you continue to look, which most people give up after about 5 days and say, well, he's not around here. Otherwise, he would have answered me, right? And so then they give up, and then about that time, that catatonic cat will start going, man, I'm hungry. I got to get some food and water here. And then they'll kind of shake it off, and then they'll start getting to their senses. That's when you have to have a heart trap, a live trap, because that's the way you're going to find one of those animals. They may not ever respond to you outside because they're just scared out of their wit. So you have to be very, you have to understand the temperament of the animal that you have. She's got broken down into 4 different temperaments. Curious clown cat, that's the one that's out there gregarious and basically doing everything, and I'm not scared of anything. The careless cat, C-A-R-E. That cat's kind of aloof around people, I can take them or leave them, And then the cautious cat, which is kind of like, I'm real shy, but eventually I'll come out because I like people. And then the catatonic xenophobic cat. So you got to understand the type of temperament you got and realize that a cat is territorial. They will literally be within a 5-house radius, usually. Not unless some human got involved and moved them somewhere else. For dogs, it's different. Because why do dogs leave? Their opportunistic journey, out there exploring. The wanderlust for typically the unaltered male. And then the blind panic. Oh my God, something scared me and I'm going to run off. So basically you've got to understand, they got gregarious, aloof, xenophobic dogs. So you got to understand the species you're dealing with as well as the behavior of the animal. Thank you so much.
And before you leave, Anita, I am not an animal lover, but I do like what you're doing. And your husband had given a talk that each time an animal is saved, because he said something like 85% of the animals that go to the shelter are euthanized, and they're trying to keep them alive. And each time, if you go there to find a pet, you're saving actually 2 lives, because that gives room for another animal to be in there. Absolutely. And I wanted to give you this donation for your service that you're providing for our county.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming. The next part of the program, we need to have, we'll be right back. No, we're going to do a round robin. We don't have to be right back. We're doing a round robin evaluation for her later. The next part of the program is what is so valuable about Toastmasters International. When you give a speech, you are given feedback on what you did well, what things may make me understand your speech better. Each of us has something different. We hear different things. And then what your strengths are. You may not know that you have poise at the lectern. Your knees may be shaking, but you don't show it at the lectern. This is the part we're coming to now, and we turn control to the general evaluator, which is me. We're wearing more than one hat tonight. Our first evaluator this evening is Rick Barron, who is Steve, who will be evaluating Rick Barron's speech on brilliant insanity. And Steve has to come from he's the producer tonight, so he has to come from the production room to come put on his evaluator hat after his speaker hat. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, General Evaluator. I'm sitting in the control room and it's like, oh, that's me. Fellow Toastmasters, our honored guest, our guests looking in from home, and Rick. Brilliant insanity. This is not the first time I've heard this speech. I still enjoy hearing it. The project that you use today, and which I have to evaluate you with, is getting to the point. So it is asking me to give you some feedback on the general and specific purpose of the speech, and then I have a few specific comments. One of the things I really liked about your speech, because I did identify it as its general purpose was to entertain. The specific purpose of the speech, I wasn't quite sure on. I have written down here, you shared your self-doubts with us, but I'm wondering if you want us to also consider stepping outside of our comfort zone. And I'll talk a little bit more about that a little later on in my evaluation. You had a real interesting dichotomy in the way that you present this speech. You're talking about the present, and then you take us back to the past and some of these other events that you had in your life, or breaches in sanity. And then you bring us back to the present. And I thought that's really pretty good the way you did that, because I was able to follow it. I didn't find it distracting. And yet I thought, okay, just this real simple general and specific purpose, I don't quite know how to describe that. But I thought it was real interesting. And you really have excellent vocal variety, use of gestures. Let me see, what else do I have down here? And as I mentioned before, you shared with us some of the self-doubts, which we all encounter. One of the things that I think might help you with your speech, especially at the end of it, because that's one of the things that you were asking me to pay some attention to, you have a really nice quote that I like about what lies in front of us and what lies behind us are small matters compared to what lies within us. And I'm wondering if you want to do something like, you may be surprised at what lies within you, but you can't always do it risk-free. You will have to let go, which is what you did when you were jumping out of a perfectly good airplane. So those were just some thoughts that I had as far as maybe tying in your quote with some of the things that you talked about in your speech, as far as basically moving outside of your comfort zone, and that we don't always know how it's going to turn out, but oftentimes we're surprised when it turns out to be successful. Madam General Evaluator?
Thank you, Steve, for the excellent evaluation. The evaluator for Steve is Rick Barron, and if Rick will come up.
Thank you, Carol. Am I the right type? Are you the right type? We just learned that we are all the right type when it comes to donating blood or platelets. Steve, very, very socially relevant speech, and the way that you did it challenged us to step out of our comfort zones and to find a way to support the blood and platelet needs of everyone in our society. Very, very good way to bring that message across. And the visual that you had with the t-shirt and the pin may have been hard for the people in television to see, but we could see it here. So I think that that really helped, was having the t-shirt and the pin, at least for us sitting here in the audience. Your project is on organizing a speech, a beginning, a body, and a conclusion, a clearly defined goal with some support material and some major facts. Overall, the goal, as I understood it, was to get us off the couch and into the donation center so that we can help be one of those 350 whole blood donors or 40 platelet donors that are required every single day to support the 31 hospitals that Hawksworth provides blood for. In addition, you took us through this flow with the story of your mother that brought some emotional appeal to the speech, really helping to drive the point home, and that it doesn't have to be for some nameless person. It, in many cases, will be a friend, a relative, or somebody else who we love or cherish, who that blood will go to. One area where I think where you could have made a significant improvement, and that was in the opening. You started off by saying, I just got my 15-gallon pin from Hawksworth. One of the things that you might consider for making a more impactful start to the speech would be, what can you think of that holds 15 gallons? An average shower is 15 gallons of water. A milk jug times 15, or the amount of gasoline that goes into your car, all of which pale in comparison to the amount of blood I've donated since I've been donating blood with Hawksworth. Something like that that gives us perspective to the contribution that you've made, I think would be a significant improvement to the opening of the speech, drawing us in a little bit deeper at the start. Overall, socially relevant topic, presented in a very logical and consistent way, bringing emotional appeal and challenging us at the end. I look forward to hearing future speeches from you. Ms. General Evaluator.
Thank you very much for that in-depth evaluation. When I was, back in 1951, when I was hired at GE, they took my blood for a test, and I watched them, and I'm sitting there, and I was fine, and I said, they took my blood, they took my blood, they took my blood, and all of a sudden, I was on the floor and throwing up. So I admire you, Steve, because I don't know that I could do that. Our next evaluation is a round robin for Anita, and because the microphone is up here, if you have some comments about her speech or what was clear to you, what she might have made clearer, or what you liked about the speech, if you would like to come up, who would like to come first? Steve, would you like to come first? Let us welcome Steve.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Anita, thank you for that speech. I thought it was interesting because I've had friends that have lost cats and then they have found them. It may have been a day or two before they found them, but it was interesting to hear where you're most likely to find them. One of the things I would have liked, and I don't know whether you were trying to wind up your speech or what, but at the end you started talking a bit about dogs because I have dogs. And you mentioned their different personalities, but you didn't really give us any indicators as to what we should do with dogs that have seen the squirrel and are running off somewhere, and you're yelling at them and they don't even bother to look back because dogs tend to run a little bit farther. And so I was wondering if you could share, with us what things dog owners might want to consider and some of the behavior types that might be successful with different techniques to get them to sit up and pay attention. My dogs are neutered and spayed, so I don't have the issue of the wandering male, but that's something that I would have liked to have heard. But I thought it was really informative, and I think it's good because people need to be thinking about that. They really shouldn't let them get out unattended, but sometimes the door doesn't catch or something and they get out. Madam General Evaluator?
Thank you very much. My comments are, my son has a cat that was an outside cat, outdoor cat. Then his son had it indoors, and when he moved, he didn't have a place to have it indoors. Well, we think it's because of the personality of the cat. But now he has it as an indoor cat, and when he lets the cat out, it may be gone overnight, and it comes back, and it's all beat up, and claws or have bloody claws, and so now he's an indoor cat, but he lets him do his business outside, and the other morning he let him out in the cold, and before he went to work, and he was nowhere to be found, and he still had to go to work, so he left a little box there so left the garage door open a little bit so he could get in. But that's very interesting about the different personalities, and sometimes they go and they don't come back right away. But I appreciate that, and I think that you're just the thought that there are different personalities of the different animals. I found that very interesting, and thank you for sharing. Ram, would you like to make some comments? And then bring your timing sheet up here because we'll go right into your timer report after this.
Thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster. I really loved your speech, Anita. It gave me a perspective on pet owners. While I was growing up, I had some pets. My father did not appreciate having pets at home, so I could not have them. But over here, my wife doesn't want to have it. So anyway, but one thing in your speech which really kind of maybe touched me or hurt me in a way was when you said that it's okay to euthanize and at least you have closure, but it's not okay for the animal to get lost. I said in my mind, how can it be okay to euthanize and know that it's done versus an animal being lost? Because when it is lost, there is a hope that you can find it, but when it's gone, it's gone. So that was something, maybe I don't know why I got that feeling, but I just wanted to share it. And but overall it was very informative, and I learned a lot of different traits that animals can show, just like human beings. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You can go right into your timer.
Okay. So I'm going to read out the time report now. For the table topics, we had 1 to 2 minutes. So for the first one, Rick, you spent 1 minute and 12 seconds. And for the second table topic, I spent 1 minute and 56 seconds. Okay, now coming to the speaker number 1, for Rick Barron, he took 6 minutes and 51 seconds. For the second speaker, Steve Ahrenholz, he took 8 minutes and 41 seconds. For the third speaker, Mrs. Anita Barron, she took 7 minutes and 2 seconds. And for the evaluator number 1, we are supposed to spend 2 to 3 minutes. The first evaluator was Steve Ahrenholz. He spent 3 minutes and 10 seconds. The second evaluator was Mr. Rick Barron. He spent 3 minutes and 20 seconds. And the third one was a round robin, where Steve spent 1 minute and 31 seconds. And I did not count me. Thank you very much,
Okay.
Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Wow, that was great for your first time here and not having seen one before. And You listened well and you took care of everything. My comments about the meeting, I think we had a very good meeting for having so few people here, which just goes to show how we persevere in Toastmasters. And we get through that. We always say that 2 is company, 3's a meeting. And we had 5 here tonight. I would now like to return our meeting to the presiding officer, Rick Barron, to close our meeting for us. Rick Barron.
Thank you, Carol. I agree. We really pulled this one out of the hat. If you were here in the studio, you got to see how much fun it was to do this. Regardless of whether there's 5 people or 50 people, coming to visit us at TV Toastmasters is a great learning experience because you have an opportunity to watch yourself grow. As you out there in TV land are watching us, you get to see yourself on public access television. We also post the show on YouTube so that you can get your friends and family members and acquaintances to watch you grow as well. So we ask you, why not come to TV Toastmasters and grow with us? 7850 5 Mile Road at the Anderson Center. We meet the first Thursday of the month at 6 p.m., the third Saturday of the month at 9 a.m. You can learn more about us at www.tvtoastmasters.com. I now close the March 6th meeting of TV Toastmasters. Thank you for joining us.